Hey guys, we are on day 163 of our Bible reading plan, and today we're reading in the book of 1 Kings chapter 7 and the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 4. Now, both accounts are going to be really similar in that they both describe the building of the temple furnishings and discuss the creation of these temple furnishings, and they're going to describe the bronze altar. They're going to describe the sea and the bowls that hold it up, and both of them are going to give us this sense that these furnishings are greater and bigger than anything that was in the tabernacle before, that everything is made of gold or bronze or cast metal. And both accounts are going to tell us that Hiram made all of these things, all of these objects for King Solomon, and that the king had them cast in the plains of the Jordan between Sukkot and Zarethan, and that it amounted to so much that it could not even be weighed. And so we have this sense that this temple, even the furnishings, everything is beautiful. There's this sense of opulence, of bigness, of greatness for even the furnishings in this temple that Solomon is building for the Lord. And then we're going to read a little bit different descriptions of these things in the book of Kings. Kings is going to describe each of these items in greater detail. It's going to tell us that there are cherubim, that there are lions, palms, pomegranates, that there's gold floral work, it's just this picture of abundance, of opulence, of beauty. It's garden-like inside the temple. Even the furnishings are depicting this garden picture and imagery. And so we get the sense that this temple, this house of the Lord, there's this echo of the garden, that this temple where the people are going to meet with the presence of the Lord, where the high priest is going to meet with the presence of the Lord. It's a callback to the garden of where Adam and Eve once met with the presence of the Lord. And so it's just this beautiful picture of Solomon really going to the very letter of what David gave him to do, to make the temple something great and honoring of God. And then the other thing we're going to read in the book of Kings in chapter 7 is that it differs in this way. It says in verse 1, it says that it took Solomon 13 years to complete construction of his palace. So chapter 6 ends with the statement, it took Solomon 7 years to build the temple of the Lord. And then 7 starts out saying that it took Solomon 13 years to complete the construction of his own palace. And it tells us, it describes in detail some of the things that he includes in his palace. And then it tells us that he also builds a palace just like it for his wife, Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. And so there's this little difference in the book of Kings in the account of Solomon building the temple, where in the book of Kings, it's going to sort of give you this aside. Oh, by the way, at the same time, Solomon is also completing the building of his own palace. He builds a palace for his wife. That's going to take him 13 years. It's going to take him 20 years in all to complete all these structures. You have to remember, Chronicles is giving us a history of Israel, and Kings is seeking to give us the history of King David's line and the history of the kings of Israel. And so there's just this little foreshadowing here of King Solomon, of what's going to happen for him in the future as he's building the temple of the Lord. He's also then going to build his palace and put more time into it, and it's going to take longer, and then he's going to build one for his wife. That's going to become important later for King Solomon and what happens with his kingdom and his willingness to follow the Lord and be faithful to the Lord. And so just kind of bookmark that as you're reading, take note of that. But the thing that really stands out to me as I read about what he did in building the temple was just his faithfulness to fulfill all that David had asked him to do, all that the Lord had told David to do in building the temple, Solomon is faithful to fulfill that. He's faithful to pursue God in this, to lift him up, to make a temple that is worthy of his name, to make the greatest temple, because his God is the greatest God. And you really see his willingness to go the extra mile, and that he does what is asked of him by King David to do. He does everything according to what David prescribed there for him to do. And it just reminds me that God sees our faithfulness as we're working, when we do things that he's asked us to do, when we're faithful to follow his commands and his word, when we're faithful and obedient to do the things he's asked us and live the way he asks us to live, that it brings honor and glory to him, that because of our life, because of who he is shining through our life and the way we live, other people see that. They see his greatness. They see his love for us. They see his mercy, his compassion, his ability to break through even the toughest of moments and bring freedom in our lives. And when we're faithful to continue serving him and living and doing things the way that he's asked us to, that shines and speaks a better word about who God is than anything we could ever really say about him does. It's almost like it speaks a better word of who he is in our generation and in our world today. So just be encouraged that, that we can, like Solomon was, be faithful to continue building his kingdom in this earth. We might not be building an exact temple, so to speak, but we are called to help partner in building his kingdom here in this earth. And we get to do that just by being faithful and letting his love shine through our lives. So I hope that encourages you. Keep on this path and in this journey with us. And I hope you have a great day.